So I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine the other day who I served with in 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines in the Weapons Company in 2016, 2017, before he got out of the Marine Corps. And this guy was a mortarman by trade. He was an 0341, and he and I talk on the phone every so often just to catch up, see how things are doing. He works over at Lockheed Martin, and he's also still completing schooling to be a full-fledged engineer. You can imagine the type of schooling that he's going through, math-wise and stuff. Says he has nightmares about mathematics all the time, which I don't blame him because I don't like to math in public personally. But we got to talking, and we usually end up getting to talking about different things, like Marine Corps related, different things that are happening now, different things that have happened in the past, some of our experiences, things that we've seen, things that we're seeing currently, and things that we think we may see in the future. He and I have had the same conversation numerous times about what the ultimate purpose, the terminal purpose of the Marine Corps is, outside of war fighting, outside of winning the nation's battles, outside of, all the war fighting stuff. At the end of the day, the final purpose for the Marine Corps is to create better citizens for the United States, to then go back out there and be model citizens for other people to emulate, because people need good examples of what it is to be a good person, what it is to be a good upstanding citizen, what it means to be a model, a role model. Not everybody comes up in this world with good mentorship. Not everybody grows up with parents. Not everyone grows up with good role models or examples of what leadership looks like. The Marine Corps does a really good job of making sure, or at least trying as best as possible, to prepare us to become better citizens, that when we exit the Marine Corps, we get out there and integrate in society, and we set an example for others to emulate. And part of that, interestingly enough, is discussed in Marine Corps reference publication 6-TAC-11 Delta, called Sustaining the Transformation. In this publication, they have a chapter called Phase 5, Citizenship, because they break it down into phases. They've got Phase 1, Recruitment, Phase 2, Recruit Training, Phase 3, Cohesion, Phase 4, Sustainment, Phase 5, the final phase, Citizenship. And I want to read you a little bit out of this because it kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about. The 5th phase of transformation is citizenship. Beyond preparing a Marine Corps that will win in combat, what truly distinguishes our legacy to our nation are the citizens we produce. Citizens transformed by their Marine Corps experience and enriched by their internalization of our ethos, ideals, and values. As Marines, they have learned a nobler way of life. They are able to draw from their experiences, and they are prepared to be leaders within the Corps and within their communities. Our nation's most tangible benefit comes to fruition during this phase of transformation. We produce citizens with our core values, the highest ideals in the American character, and place them in an environment where they are held accountable for those values. As Lieutenant General Victor H. Krulak wrote in his book First to Fight, Marines are masters of a form of unfailing alchemy which converts unoriented youths into proud, self-reliant, stable citizens. Citizens into whose hands the nation's affairs may be safely entrusted. Although our Corps has its share of heroic figures, in the minds of the American people our fame is collective, not individual. Ask the average American to name a famous soldier or sailor, and he will quickly respond with such names as John Paul Jones, Douglas MacArthur, or George Patton. Ask him to name a famous Marine, and they will most likely draw a blank. Yet to them, the word Marine is synonymous with honor, courage, and commitment, our core values. They expect them to rise above self-interest, and they expect them to lead. Their expectations of veteran Marines are the same as those they place on active and reserve Marines. When we make Marines for life. We provide our nation with a legacy of productive citizens transformed by their experiences while on active duty and enriched by their internalization of our ethos, ideals, and values. Nearly 70% of all active duty Marines are first-term enlistees who leave active duty at completion of their first term. While a few will remain and provide our critical NCO and staff NCO leadership, most have other aspirations, yet unfulfilled dreams, and they will depart upon completion of 4 years of faithful service. Though thousands of Marines leave the Corps each year, they will always be United States Marines. They earn that title at the end of recruit training and have been expected to live up to those responsibilities ever since. The responsibility of being a Marine does not end upon leaving active rank. In many respects, it only just begins. While these men and women are no longer under the watchful eye of their Marine superiors and no longer subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, they continue to be judged by fellow Americans on their actions and the quality of their character for the rest of their lives. This judgment extends not only to a Marine's actions, but also to how he or she represents themselves online. Posts, blogs, and web pages offer everyone an opportunity to express an opinion, but Marines should consider how such opinions may appear to others and whether those statements are appropriate. When Marines depart the Corps, they will be in the ideal position to demonstrate that Marines reflect the values that Americans cherish most and hold in the highest regard. The values upon which this nation was founded and which which guide us as we shoulder the responsibility of a world power. Be it a 4-year enlistment or a 35-year career, we must all sooner or later take off the uniform. But we have every reason to take great pride in our service. We have done something that few Americans today ever consider doing. We have sacrificed our personal comfort and liberties for the health and needs of the nation. In return, we were imbued with time-tested values of honor, courage, and commitment that provide the foundation for personal success in any endeavor. These values serve as a moral compass as we return to further education or to join the workforce. And these values will make us leaders in our universities, workplaces, and communities. Almost done, don't worry. Marines leaving active duty are our ambassadors and advocates woven throughout the fabric of America. If the Marine Corps has done its job and the Marine has embraced it completely, the transformation of a Marine will remain central in defining his or her life. The success of the full transformation experience is evident through such experiences as reunions, various Marine Corps fraternal organizations, and the heartfelt and mutually understood Semper Fidelis. Eventually, such enthusiasm reaches the eyes and ears of a young person thinking about becoming a Marine, making the cycle of transformation both complete and starting anew. A positive transformation cycle will help us live up to the responsibility of returning better citizens to the nation by instilling the values that we have always held true. We develop Marines who are capable of being solid and contributing citizens. Pretty powerful stuff. Now, another thing my buddy and I were talking about was the fact that he put this into words really well. He said, you know, the Marine Corps teaches you a lot of things, but one of the things that it teaches you is to be the best at everything you do, no matter what it is. If you're sweeping the hallway, if you're cleaning your barracks room, if you're painting a stairwell, if you're setting your uniform up for a uniform inspection, the Marine Corps teaches us to be the very best at whatever that is. Yeah, training and warfighting is important. Yes, that's an important piece of it. But being the best at every aspect of your life throughout everything in your entire experience in the Marine Corps is one of the things that the Marine Corps teaches people. It teaches Marines they don't want to just settle for last or for second, or like they don't want to just kind of like sort of go in. Marines don't want to settle for last place. They always want to get that first place trophy. That competitive atmosphere, that competitive ethos where it's like we're constantly trying to be the best at everything. And one of the things that the Marine Corps does as the final phase of sustaining the transformation is creating better citizens than they were when they first got here. And do I think that everybody should serve? I think that everyone could benefit from it. Do I think that everyone will? Do I think that everyone's qualified? Not necessarily. But the more people that do serve and the more good influences and positive influences and good examples of what people should be like as a human being and as a model citizen and as an American out there in public, the more good examples we have out there for people to emulate, the better we're going to be as a society. And I think that there's a lot of value in that. I think it's extremely underrated. One of the things I've been noticing a lot on the internet is a bunch of folks, especially like Marines specifically, or soldiers and people that joined the infantry community and they never experienced combat and they feel like I didn't do anything. My service didn't mean anything. All this stuff, like what I did didn't matter, you know. Take this from me. Like I joined the infantry in 2014 and I was there for 5 years in 3rd Marines, or I was in 2nd Battalion 3rd Marines. And 2nd Battalion 3rd Marines last combat deployment was to Marja, like December of 2010 until June or July of 2011. That was the last time that 2-3 went to combat. And ever since that point, up until they disbanded, they were doing the unit deployment program out to Okinawa, and they were going to Korea and Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, all that stuff, you know, Australia, Korea, Fuji. And that wasn't anybody's choice. That's just the way that the cards fell, you know. Sometimes that's just the way it works, you know. You stick around long enough, obviously something's going to happen. You're going to experience something. But if you get out after 4 years, it's not your fault that you didn't go experience combat. I never had the opportunity to experience it, not because I didn't try, but because that was just the way that the cookies crumbled, right? The only combat deployment I've ever done was after I had commissioned and I wasn't even in the infantry anymore. And even during that deployment, didn't experience combat, right? Again, it all goes back to that doesn't matter. The amount of combat you've got doesn't matter necessarily. Like, yes, there's a lot of really cool dudes that have amazing stories, and there's some incredible people that did experience combat that have done unbelievably amazing things and are great mentors and are great teachers and instructors. But there's also some unbelievably sharp, amazing Americans who have never experienced that. Now, obviously their experiences are different, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't still lead by an example and still be a leader, because people still need good leadership in this country. They need good examples to emulate out there in society, whether you stay in or you get out, right? They need good leadership. There are people out there depending on you There's people out there right now that are depending on your leadership, not mine, yours. And it's up to all of us as a collective to make a difference. Nobody can do this by themselves. No one person can be the only leader. We need more good examples for people to emulate. And the point of this is just that, like, no matter if you've experienced combat or not, your service mattered. The impact that you can have as a model citizen, if you get out, whenever the time comes that you get out, that is going to have an impact on a ton of people. And you may not ever have an idea of like how many people it actually impacts, but I can promise you it's going to have a big impact on people. And the same thing if you stay in. Like I said, being the very best at no matter what it is that we're doing, that's going to have an impact on people. All that to say, remember the final purpose for the Marine Corps. Don't ever forget that, which is to make better citizens than they were when they got here.